And now, let's welcome your host of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, Louise Hicks. In this episode, Mental Health, the Black Community, and Psychiatry, with special guest, Reverend Frederick Shaw.
Hello, world. Hello, everybody. How's everybody today? And thank you all for coming in to join us on this edition of Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And we're here today with our special guest, Reverend Fred Shaw. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Reverend Fred Shaw before we get started, because today our topic is mental health, the Black community, and psychiatry. So let me share a little bit of bio. He has a long bio, so we'll share some of it, and then as we speak, I'm sure more of it will come into play. So here we go. Reverend Frederick Shaw is the Director of Public Affairs and spokesperson for the Citizens Commission on Human Rights International, CCHR, a more than 50-year mental health industry watchdog, president of the NAACP Inglewood South Bay branch in California, past president of the Compton branch of the NAACP, first president of Compton to be appointed to a California state chair overseeing the Children's Task Force. He met with many members of the U.S. Congress alongside CCHR International to get the Child Medication Safety Act passed, a federal law which prohibits schools from forcing students to take psychotropic drugs as a requisite for their education. In 2020, Reverend Shaw started a task force against institutional racism in the psychiatric industry, comprising African-American attorneys, civil rights advocates, members of the clergy, medical doctors, psychologists, and educators. The task force reminds African-Americans of the mental health industry's history of stigmatizing minorities, from labeling runaway slaves and civil rights protesters as mentally ill, and the use of eugenics, population control that targeted African Americans, sterilizing them. Reverend Shaw is a native of Compton, California, and has worked in Compton for most of his life as a fierce advocate for children and adults in civic and human rights. So let's welcome Reverend Frederick Shaw, straight out of Compton. Thank you, Reverend Shaw, for joining us today. And I apologize for stumbling a little bit over your bio, getting some of my words all twisted, but glad to have you here. So how are you today?
I'm doing fine. It is a pleasure to be on your show. It is really good to connect back with you. Years ago, we did some shows, and I just appreciate getting back with you and you thinking of me, and whatever we need to do to make this a successful afternoon, or I can help you in the future. I'm more than willing to do.
Sounds great. And I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say we connected back when Ken and I were the co-host out in Hollywood, and you came into the studio on more than one occasion. So you've been on this battleground for a long time, and we go way back. Like you say, that was 2014 when we started that show, and you've been on the show with our South African dignitary. I can't recall his name. Do you recall his name, Ken?
I don't recall his name, but I do remember coming in with Alonzo Williams, and
right.
And also you brought in a young Riza Islam. I think he was a minister in training at the time, and now he's everywhere.
Right,
everywhere.
Rizza Islam was on. Alonzo Williams, who was part of the Straight Outta Compton movie situation that occurred. The movie, he wasn't actually in the movie, but he was a big part of the reason the movie was ever made in the first place. Alonzo Williams, and like you said, Rizza Islam, Dr. Dumasani, that was his name, from South Africa, chose to come on our show because his public relations person loved our show and brought in some dignitaries from there and so forth, and caused us to be on the radio out in South Africa. So it's been great. So we know, Fred, you've traveled all over the world advocating. And what made me decide to bring you on this show, which we were going to bring you on, but seeing an article from, I think it was Black News, an article. Ken, can you put that article up for me? And this is what prompted me to go and have you, because we had talked about having you on the show, but I thought we'd have you on here sooner than later because of this. It's kind of disheartening, really, when you think about it, but I just want to read the first paragraph that you see there. And it's from blacknews.com, nationwide blacknews.com. It says, Reverend Frederick Shaw, founder of CCHR's Task Force Against Racism and Modern Day Eugenics and president of the NAACP Inglewood South Bay branch, has called for stronger actions to be taken in response to racism in the mental health system. This follows a recent racist tweet by Columbia University, New York psychiatrist Jeffrey Lieberman, who questioned whether having beautiful dark colored skin, referring to the model Miss Nia Kim Gatwick, was a freak of nature, quote unquote. Columbia University suspended him over the tweet. And from what I've heard, there's been more actions. I believe I've heard that he resigned. So this is why I really wanted to come in and talk about mental health and the Black community. And after seeing this article, I said, I know Reverend Shaw had said he'd come on the show, but I thought I'd get him and see if I could catch it, because I know he has a lot on his plate, and see if he could come in now and talk about mental health, psychiatry, and the Black community. Because after we saw this fiasco at the Oscars too, it was timely, and we'd already planned it. And by the way, Reverend Shaw, do you have anything to say about that? Because people have been beating a dead horse, and I think it's time for us to move on. But just briefly, did you have anything that you wanted to comment about that situation with Will Smith, Chris Rock, and Jada Pinkett Smith?
Well, the thing is first of all, let me give a shout out to Rizza Islam. We had to do his mother's memorial service yesterday, and I officiated it, and he did a eulogy for his mother that was outstanding. And so, I just want to lift them up in prayer as we move forward.
Wow. Shout out to him. Shout out to him.
And the same from me. And hopefully, I understand, and my condolences to you too, Rizza, and your family, because we know you were on our show, and hopefully we'll get you back on the show. But right now, we know it's not the time, and our condolences from our show, Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour, to you and your family. And thank you for sharing that with us, Fred. We appreciate that, because we all love Rizza. He's doing some amazing things. And so are you, of course. That's why you're here.
Well, I'm proud of him. He came up in our church, and I was one of his mentors. He called me his uncle. And so I'm, proud to wear that badge as an uncle, because he is a very unique young man. And, so we want to stand with him in his time of grief and mourning. But I want to get to, you talked about the Oscars. And I'm gonna come, if it's okay, I'm gonna come with a cold-blooded approach.
Oh, by all means, any perspective, because I've come with my perspective and I want to hear your perspective. So by all means, the floor is all yours.
As only Fred Shaw can do.
Yeah.
Yes.
Really, when I look at all of the problems that face the Black community, and he can get more attention for a slap than the homeless can get, than the drug addicts can get, than the uneducated can get. And so I don't put that slap on a priority list
Amen.
for me.
Amen. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you just said a mouthful. Amen.
Yeah, it's not a priority for me, but the thing is that I didn't like the fact that on what is considered the highest stage for his career, that he had no discipline to just wait. He had access, just like he could walk up on that stage, he could have walked around behind the stage. And then when Chris Rock came off the stage, he could have then made his feelings clear up into a slap. But first of all, we know that violence is not the solution. It has backfired. His finest moment now, where he's gotten the Oscar, the same Oscar he protested to get, the same Oscar he wanted, he now has tainted that. Nobody's talking about the fact that he won an Oscar. They're talking more about the slap. It overwhelmed the whole Oscars. And so I just say, I'm not telling him not to defend his wife or whatever, but I've heard a lot worse jokes made about them by white comedians, and Reba Wilson and Ricky Grievous and all of these people, and there's not been one word. But a Black man mentions what he did, which I thought was actually pretty light. I didn't think it was that difficult. I mean, we don't want to ever make fun of anybody's condition, physical condition or whatever, if he even knew. But the thing is that we have to behave better than that. But I do want to shout out to the Black community, and I'm not giving a shout out. I'm gonna just make a statement. Do not get out of the mindset that because one Black person has done something, it reflects on all of us.
Amen.
That sits in the racist nature of whites who would use that situation or any other situation to put a label over all Blacks when they don't want us to put a label over all whites. And we have a long history of their abuse toward us.
Amen.
So I just wanted to say that I love all of them. I love Jada's work. I love Will's work. I love Chris Rock's work. But I'm just a little cautious if you do something to one Black man that you would have never did to a white man or a more powerful Black man. So, and then you probably heard the comedian say that, he slapped Chris Rock. He didn't slap The Rock. And there's a big difference between those two, so I just want to put that. But other than that, I'm not passing judgment on any of them. The consequences. I love them all, and I will continue to watch Will Smith movies. I will continue to listen to Chris Rock's humor, and I like it too. She does some good stuff. So that's my thing. Unless we gonna spend this whole hour for me to get really deep in the psychology of this, but that could be another show.
Right, and we intend to have you back because this is a show that it's a spinoff from my show that I did in Hollywood, where this show is focused primarily on Black people because we are so divided. So this is why I started Aim to Purpose Spiritual Empowerment Hour. And I'm just focusing on the support that we need so that we can come together as a people collectively and move forward spiritually, intellectually, emotionally, socially, physically, and thus bring about a legacy, generational wealth for our children. And when I saw this article, and I appreciate everything you said, because that has been my take on it too. I think we are expending too much energy and focus on what these two men did. When you said from the beginning. Look at what's going on in our community. We need some mental health. And with that said, I wanted to, you made a statement here too about your mom, Marcine Shaw, and I loved it because I'm a mom. And you had said she was a sergeant in the Women's Army in 1950, and for 18 years, she was a senior deputy to Los Angeles County Supervisors Kenneth Hahn and Yvonne Bradwaite Burke. And you know, from me living in California practically all my life, 50 years practically. My kid is born and raised there, and we've met in person, and you've been on the show, like we said. My belief is that charity starts at home, and you gave such accolades to your mother, and I love that. So I just wanted to bring that out here. So we talked about this, and your article, what you said in this article was just right on point and right on time. So tell us, what is eugenics?
Eugenics is a system that basically, to make it simple, holds one race over another. It indicates that DNA wise or any other wise, that one group is superior to another group. And so we basically are talking about the perfect race. And when we looked at what happened in Germany with the Jews and others, and I always add that because we always talk about the 6 million Jews that were killed in the Holocaust, but there were 11 million that were totally killed. So you almost had a whole nother half of people that were not Jews that were killed. And Polish people were killed. If there were any Black people around, they were killed. If, you know, it's like all that down. And the tragedy is when we look back, we see the link to psychiatry, even in that time and even before that time. And so when when you put on a show talking about psychiatry and its effect and what it does to the African-American community, we stand out there and protest the police. And we don't understand that psychiatry has been every bit, if not more, racist than law enforcement. In fact, Dr. Benjamin Rush, who is hailed as the father of psychiatry, and he's written down as an abolitionist. I think he signed the Declaration of Independence and all that. But even he said that Black people's skin was dark because we had a disease that was akin to leprosy, and that white people should stay away from us. And the only way to know if we were sane or if we were physically healthy was if we turned white. And so this is at the beginning of psychiatry. And then we come all the way up, at least in this country, and then we come all the way up to a month ago, and here the top psychiatrist in New York, the chairman of the psychiatric board for Columbia University, basically says that a person who is dark-skinned, to be beautiful, it's a freak of nature. But you don't say that it's a freak of nature for light-skinned people to be beautiful. You don't say it's a freak of nature for any other race to be beautiful, but a dark-skinned Black woman is a freak of nature when there's just too much evidence that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And I've seen most beautiful women of all shades. So for them to say that, was offensive to me, because I have a sister that's dark, my father was dark. I may not be considered that, but when I was growing up, I liked dark women every bit as much as I liked light-skinned women. So I don't get where this idea that it's a freak of nature, other than it's in the eugenic plan and it's racist based.
I agree with what you're saying too. And we had the picture up earlier that triggered it. Ken, put that picture back up again right quick. I just want to make a point, because everything you've said, it's just amazing how when you mentioned earlier too about that Oscar situation, it basically is a distraction. And a lot of these things are distractions for us as Black people so that we can get on code. And you just mentioned about the dark skin, various skin colors and so forth. In looking at this picture, this lady is a beautiful Black lady. And I look at myself, dark skin, and I know there has been, and it stemmed from slavery, where light skin, dark skin was pitted against each other. And whereas the lighter skinned people, white people, I guess because of just what you said, this Dr. Benjamin Rush made it so that lighter skin, white skin was better. That was better. It made you better. You're superior, inferior. So talk to us more about the impact of that type of behavior on us as Black people and where we are today, because we are so divided and our mental health is not in the best condition. So how does this tie into where we are today with how white people are still treating us and we ourselves on skin color?
Well, let me say something that I've been promoting lately. Black people have been taught we have to have self-esteem. Mm-hmm. But what it is really, we got to have real esteem.
Oh, yes.
In other words, self-esteem, we're saying, regardless of what other people think about me, I think highly of myself. Real esteem is, I don't even know what other people are saying about me. I don't consider what other people are saying about me because I just believe who I am and what I am, and that's it. And so we have to start teaching the Black community real esteem, because that is only based on what you think. It's not based on what other people think. And so if we're going to keep it real, then we have to have real esteem. And this whole thing with Dr. Benjamin Rush, and you know, by the way, up until a couple of years ago, he was held on the seal of the American Psychiatric Association. So that's how much they believed in his teaching and how they held him as an icon in the industry. And so, but it laid the groundwork, or even if it wasn't the origination of it, it was most definitely a boost of it that led to Dr. Samuel Cartwright, who came up with the word drapetomania. And drepida meant runaway slave, mania meant crazy. So basically, if a slave ran away from his master, mental health or psychiatry, and I'm gonna separate those two, basically said they were mentally ill. If a person like you and I, living in those days, probably with our attitudes, I consider you a warrior and your son a warrior and stuff. Yes. Well, when you talk back to master, when you refuse to work, those were all signs of mental illness. So this field has never been scientific. It's all subjective. And so when we talk about mental health, nobody's against mental health. I'm not against mental health. If it's mental health, the problem I had with it is mental control. And so if it was mental health, when a person went in, they would come out with a higher IQ, they would think clearer, they would think faster, that's mental health. Mental control is when you give a kid a pill to slow him down because he's hyperactive. Now you're controlling his behavior. When you give a person a pill and to kill off certain impulses and stuff, that is control. That's not health. So what they do is take the words. In the Bible, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. Well, it's like you take the words and slight the meanings, then you can make people accept things that are not. The Germans called killing the Jews, mental hygiene. Well, physical mental hygiene, we looking at cleaning and stuff. They were looking at cleaning the race, so they were killing people. See, so, we have to be very careful when they talk to us when we're doing these things, because the words mean a lot and they convince people that one thing is happening when actually something else altogether is happening. So, and then we can, as we go, we'll keep progressing on up to modern day, because what I want to talk a little bit more about Dr. Lieberman, because see, Dr. Lieberman isn't some ordinary person. He's not even an ordinary psychiatrist. This dude is chairman of Columbia University Psychiatric Department. So if he is one of the top dogs and his viewpoint is Black people with dark skin is a freak of nature if they're beautiful, then why would we ever consider going to him when he got racism bias? And if he's the top of the litter, and I'll take that word back, litter, but if he's profession, then what are these other dudes doing? What are these other psychiatrists doing? And now I understand, because they're just putting together what they want to make money on how they want to do it. Don't forget, Columbia University, and I know I'm giving you a lot of information. We probably have to do a part two.
I love it. I love it.
Columbia University is set in Harlem, near the projects, where they go to the poor people and give them flyers asking them to bring their children to be assessed at the Mind Brain Center, and they put electrodes in the brains of the poor people. And if what I understand, and you can check this, but I'll clear, for what I've said, if you leave it in too long, then the brain will grow over that and it's hard to take it out. And they are doing this to the poor and paying the parents money to bring their children in under the clinical trials, and you targeting the poor. So here again, psychiatry has never been a friend of the African-American community. So I look at them as a Christian minister as the devil. I look at them, since they don't believe in God and they believe man is an animal, as the Antichrist. I look at them in ways that other people don't necessarily look at them, based on the data that I've gotten from all of the research I've done. And I can't see where they ever stood on the side of right. Black people, Martin Luther King and those people were said to be causing protest psychosis. See, they just make these names up. Mm-hmm. Protest psychosis. So we weren't even ever supposed to protest the conditions that we're living in America. Mm-hmm. So, and they labeled our leaders, and people, they said that we were being taught to be narcissists because we were believing that we were so. So this is a field who throughout history and up to recently basically said, well, we want to make sure that these people never know who they are, never be able to stand on their own. We will label them in their schools with all of these disabilities. We will give them these names and say that even being poor means that you're suffering trauma. They fooling the younger generations, but the older generations are the ones that's our generation and up now. We face the bullies in the tough times. If the people got through slavery without medication, we can sure get through this stuff without medication.
Oh, you said a mouthful. You said a mouthful on that, because the atrocities that they went through, the rapes, the castrations, the hangings, and when you read the Willie Lynch letter, it just brings it all home, Minister Shaw. I'm telling you, it's, and that's why I call myself the Mad Black Lady. And that's for motivated and determined, because I am a warrior for justice. And I like the terms you've used, real esteem. I haven't heard that terminology used. We do need some real esteem, the way you define that. And also mental control versus mental health. this Lieberman, and this just recently happened too, didn't it, Minister Shaw? This gentleman, this psychiatrist, with saying that we, and I guess with me being a dark-skinned Black woman, that I would be labeled mentally ill, I guess, according to the psychiatrist, with his beliefs. And that's happens a lot within the psychiatric industry. And I'll say this because I went through it with my son, David. As you're aware, I wrote the award-winning book, A Hill to Climb, A Teenager's Battle with Cancer, Depression, and Drug Addiction, which is a chronicle of all of the challenges that I face with the mental health, quote unquote, system here in America. And I just became mad as a result, motivated and determined to fight for freedom, liberation, and justice for Black people. Now, let me ask you this, Minister Shaw. You said that Columbia University, and this man was the chairman, I guess, over Columbia and the community near there. Were these predominant, you said poor people, were they predominantly Black people that they're doing all this experimentation on?
Yeah, it was poor and Black. It's the projects, and I actually have met a lot of the people that were in the projects, and I actually went to the Brain Center. I was bold enough to go when I was in Harlem, and yeah, he was the chairman of the board of psychiatry for Columbia University. So, you know, and that's a high-ranking position, and I think he was also over the psychiatry in New York. The thing that we want to do is focus on the methods and techniques that they're using to enslave and abuse the people. There has never been a study that proved that any pill or electroshock therapy of any form has benefited society. They get paid for it. These things have been grandfathered in. The drugs approved by the FDA, and then when you research it, you find out that the FDA, a high number of, maybe as much as 50% of them, work for pharmaceutical companies. So everybody knows that you don't bite the hand that feeds you. So they allow drugs to be brought in that maybe 50, 60 years ago would not have been even approved. You know, if you listen to commercials, you know, when I give my speeches, sometimes there's people there that don't agree with me, and that's fine. So I tell them, if they don't believe me, believe the commercials. The commercials tell you the side effects of those drugs. And CCH, some of the credit for that too, you know, because we have for 50 years been bombarding them, hitting them, making them prove who they are, and so forth, and they haven't been able to do it. And they cry about CCHR's approach, but CCHR has never said they were against mental health. They're against psychiatric abuse. And when you are electroshocking babies from 0 to 5 years of age, actually, you know, that's late. Because if you are electroshocking pregnant women, then you're electroshocking babies before they're even born.
Right.
Oh, so, wow.
So with the drugs, with the electroshock, you know, you and I go through electroshock treatments, we are liable to lose 1 million brain cells. But if you do that to a 2-year-old, then not only does he lose the 1 million brain cells, but he lose all the brain cells he would have developed up until our age. So you have basically stunted their growth. This is why I'm after these people. It's not because I hate therapists and I don't like the fact that I actually had a situation at work and I went out on workman's comp and I had to go to a psychiatrist. Mm-hmm. And this is literally what happened. He said, "So what's going on with you?" I explained the situation at work, how they were attacking all of the Black managers and stuff, firing them, doing stuff. It was really a bad situation. He said, "Oh, okay, I can prescribe you." And he named 2 drugs. I said, "Hold on, I'm the victim. why do I need to take the drug?
Thank you.
What I'm looking for is coping classes, things that can tell me how to deal with these people. He said these exact words. I'm a psychiatrist. I write prescriptions. Now, he's the top dog in that mental health field. But he listens to me for 2 to 3 minutes and decided to prescribe me a drug. What did he do to benefit me?
Nothing.
Now, if I know that these drugs cause hallucinations, if I know that these drugs can cause sudden death, people don't talk about that. If I know, and the commercial confirms it, that they can commit suicide, which tells me if they can commit suicide, that they can commit homicide. There's a reason that mass shooting in Las Vegas, the one in Colorado, the one in Dallas, Texas, it's a reason all those people, Columbine, all those drugs. So because a suicide is just a homicide done to yourself. So we're looking at the harm of these drugs, but they're administering them to the people. Now, I want you to consider this. Somewhere, it might be a little less now because we've been really effective lately on these psych drugs and stuff, but somewhere between 6.7 million children on these psychotropic drugs. Now, let's say that only 1% of them is capable of doing a mass shooting. You're looking at 67,000 children in the United States alone that can blow up and kill. But it can cause the same thing in adults. And that number is much higher. So the thing I'm saying is we're feeding the fox chickens while he's guarding the hen house.
Yes.
You see? And so that's where we have to take a good look at this. I know that our politicians are all promoting mental health. They've gotten into the celebrities and they've all starting to promote mental health. But a lot of them are aware too, because I talk with a lot of people. A lot of them are aware. And I do this on every show, so I'm gonna let you know. If there's a psychiatrist who wants to meet me on your show, if he wants to meet me in front of a big audience, he wants to meet me on television or the radio, I'm in. Because I know for the last 13 years or more, they will not debate me. I know they won't. In fact, the last time I debated someone, it was a Harvard professor who basically agreed with everything I said and then said, but. Oh, I agree. We're drugging too many children, but some kids need it. At that time, it was over 7.5 million children on psychiatric drugs. How much is some?
Oh my God. This is utterly, and that's why I know you're right. They won't debate you. And unfortunately, the educational system pushes putting your children on drugs because they are being children. And we know that our educational system is by design to dumb you down. And I'll give you a prime example. My daughter, Crystal, went to a Christian school, kindergarten through, I think, the 6th grade. And because when David, my son, was sick with cancer, she felt isolated because so much of my time was being devoted to David. So she started acting out at school, talking in class. She took some of my jewelry, took it to school, started giving it out, handed it out on the playground to the children. And these teachers were advocating me giving my daughter Ritalin. I told them, I said, no way I'm going to give my daughter candy cocaine. And you hit it on the head. about big pharma, the pharmaceutical companies pushing these drugs, giving these kids all these drugs, and some of them walk around like zombies, don't know who they are or what's going on in the world, all the side effects. And you said it, they tell you the side effects on TV, all the symptoms you've given as a result of it. And I told them, it's no way I'm going to give my daughter candy cocaine, because I did my homework, and having a degree, a bachelor's in social work, I knew. And see, a lot of parents don't do the homework. Anything a psychiatrist say, and like I said, I think there was some psychiatry that I dealt with, they were crazier than a Betsy bug. And I had to fight for my son, David. Now, fortunately for Crystal, because they wanted to he was on so many drugs, I went through hell and high water to get him off of some of these drugs they had him on, so he wouldn't be walking around like a zombie. And the same with, I told him, you're not going to put my daughter on any Ritalin, but I took her to a social worker so she could talk to them. My daughter was 6 years old, crossed her legs there, sat there to the social worker. It was a white gentleman. And she crossed her legs and told him point blank, I am sick and tired of everybody giving my brother everything and all of the attention, and I'm not getting any attention. Maybe I should be sick like him and I can get some attention. She just needed to talk it out and get the attention. And it helped me to focus more and see if I could spend more time with her and try and get David squared away. So we as parents, tell us about that part of it, because you said these parents are getting paid from Columbia University to study to put their children on drugs, and they're mostly Black parents. So we need to educate like what you're doing. That's so important.
Well, they're doing brain type of activity. The thing is this, poor people generally are in need. So if I'm a pimp, I find the poor girls that are pretty, give them a lifestyle that they have not seen to take control of them so I can manipulate them into the streets. Psychiatrists do the same thing. They go to the poor families. Mother's sitting there, 3 kids, trying to figure out how she's going to keep the lights on. And all she has to do is bring her children there, and she can get paid X amount of dollars a child, and then she can do an assessment, get paid, and now she can pay her lights for the next 3 months. That's how, so we abuse people. I mean, we've seen this through our society. Men who got a lot of money will abuse and take advantage of women who have no money. You know, I mean, and I'm just being real with this because, you know, when we're talking to our people, we have to put it on the table the way it looks when we get ready to eat it. And so I'm giving it to you this way because of the fact that that's what these people do, who should be above that. They should be experts in the art of living. They should be trying to elevate these people, but what they're doing is trying to control these people. And this thing, and I want to say this, it's not just Black people. They're doing this to everybody because they want the money. So white kids are being drugged, Mexican kids are being drugged, Chinese kids are being drugged. It just happens to be the poorer you are or the richer you are, you're more acceptable. If you don't have the insurance that will pay for you, you probably can't get the drugs. Because I've had people that thought that they should have drugs and couldn't get them because there was no money to pay for the drugs. Mm-hmm. You see, so the thing is, but let me hit back on something. Imagine a kid is 2 years old. When I was growing up, and before me and after me, there was a time period that they called the terrible twos. Yes. They call them twos because every kid went through it. It's the moment they're actually really coming aware of their environment, and now they're the smallest thing in the environment, and they're trying to be able to exert their power and get what they want. Now, they've already been taught that as I cry, I get everybody to me. You know, if I cry, mama comes, or daddy comes, or whatever. And so we know that these are terrible twos. So why are they drugging these kids for behavior that's been going on from the beginning of time? It is a natural behavior in the development of a child.
Yes.
So I knew a young man who stood on the top of the table and cursed out a whole classroom. He would get in, when they did his background for law enforcement, they asked him, they said, are you the savior or are you the Antichrist? Because they were getting two sides of the story, you know, of who this kid was and everything. He wasn't as civilized then as he is now. Wasn't a bad kid, just was a kid. Mischief, wouldn't let nobody in the environment pick on him, all that. Well, in today's world, they would have put that kid on psychiatric drugs. Mm-hmm. But right now, that kid is talking to you. He's written novels, led protest marches, have accomplished all types of things, traveled the world, do all of that. Because I got to grow up. Now, my parents had a different method of handling ADHD in those days. So, but we won't get into that. That's a painful subject, you know.
Yes.
But where here is painful as electroshock therapy.
Absolutely.
Nowhere near as crippling as putting kids on these drugs. You said something powerful. You said you researched and you found that this was kiddie cocaine.
Yes.
Exactly. Real and innocent. But do parents realize they're putting their kids on cocaine? Do they realize when they're giving their kid Adderall that you giving them meth? I mean, these are the things that are not being told that cause these kids to flip, that cause them to act worse than they would ever act. Because you and I grew up in the era, I don't know your family, but we grew up in the area where you got consequences immediately.
Yes, you did. I grew up in the same era. I'm 71.
So we grew up where you could act out in the street and your neighbor who knew you come out there and spank your butt, and you prayed that they didn't tell your parents, because Absolutely. Now this is all embarrassed because you acting up out in the street and you could get it again. Well, let me tell you something. When there's immediate consequences, people behave differently. My little grandbaby, 8 years old, 2 years ago, she sit up in the classroom and start singing. The teacher told her to stop, she wouldn't. The teacher told her to stop, she wouldn't. They went and got the principal, she wouldn't. Everybody's in there, she won't stop singing, she just singing. Her mama walked in and all of a sudden she shut down.
See?
Mother takes her, put her in the car, mom driving her home, she in the back seat praying. She knows she's gonna get some type of punishment. I won't say on air what she gonna get because I don't want nobody chiming into their childhood dictating how we supposed to handle this little girl.
Absolutely.
Like that crying, praying, because she already knew she was gonna have to suffer the consequences. So I told my daughter, I said, have the teacher make her an assistant and see what happens. No more problems. She was helping another kid. The kid had already skipped a grade. They wanted to skip her another grade. Even in the she's a straight A, the straight A, almost couple of B's and stuff like that. And she's operating. They wanted to skip her another time. She's just bored.
That's it.
She's just bored.
It's the educational system. It's by design to dumb us down and to keep us handicapped. And I'm so you brought out so many great points about the politicians, because all of this stuff ties in to keep us enslaved. You don't see the visible shackles, but it's the mindset. And we have to have that renewing of our minds in order to help us to overcome what's going on. And starting these kids out on drugs, like you mentioned, 0 to whatever age, the kids can't even grow and be in their natural state as a child, as you stated, Minister Shaw. And I'm so glad you brought that part out, because and about parents doing research. And that's why it's so important too, for what you're doing. And again, everybody, we're talking about mental health, Black Americans, and psychiatry. And we're here with Minister Frederick Shaw, who is the Director of Public Affairs and spokesperson for the Citizens Commission on Human Rights International. and that's CCHR, among other things. He's the president of NAACP in Inglewood, the South Bay branch, and he has so many titles. He's been over in South Africa. Was it, where did you go? Was it South Africa? Advocating.
I've been to South Africa probably 4 or 5 times. I've been to Ghana. I've been to Germany, China, London, you know, pretty much all over the world, speaking on this issue, on the issue of education, on the issue of trying to be morally strong. Because one of the things that is wrong with the world today, as you see us get more into the mental health, we get more away from the spiritual things, like you reap what you sow. What goes around comes around. Those things are being forgotten. Those were also checkpoints in our life, because if I beat up a kid and I was wrong, then I had to think of the fact that maybe a bigger kid would come and beat me up at some point. So the church had a very significant role in survival and the enhancement of the Black community. But now the umbilical cord to the church is being severed. And even mental health is bringing in facilities, paying bills and stuff into the church, and telling the church to point out those that are mentally ill. Well, who do we point out mentally ill in the church? The people we don't like, if they mentally ill or not. So therefore, you know, I like this deacon over there, and she likes that deacon. I saw her. It can be as simple as that, you know. And so what we have to do, I always advocate that we get a full physical examination, maybe 2. And the only reason why I say 2 is, for some reason, it seemed like in the first physical examination, they missed things. I know somebody that's very dear to me who would do unbelievable things. Your car, back in the days, people left their cars running, and he would come to your house to visit, your neighbor car running, he'd jump in your neighbor car and go to San Diego. Or he'd walk into a store with a lot of money in his pocket and then steal something. But they found out that the cause of it was a thyroid. And once they did that, the person went on, got their PhD, they write books and novels, and they do a lot of things, because I don't want to reveal who it is.
Right.
But, you know, but it was just getting the proper medical care that actually made the so-called disorder disappear. Mm-hmm. And, you know, those are the things that we find if there's an underlying cause for the situation. How do we tell the difference between anemia and depression? How do we tell the difference between somebody who is speaking incoherently and somebody with a brain tumor? The thyroid, the urinary tract can cause things that can mirror mental illness. A lot of women have been diagnosed with mental illness when all it was a urinary tract infection. So the thing is what CCHR is trying to do is bring mental health or psychiatry back under the law, and to make them accountable for their actions, and to help them become the science that keep claiming to be, which is a fraudulent title, because nothing that they do is based on reality and facts. They can't show you where electroshock made you better. They can only show you that it made you quieter, so people around you were not offended. But it didn't help you. It helped control you, so other people are not affected by your behavior, when they may have could just look in and find that you got something going on in your body that can be fixed like that, and you no longer exhibit those behaviors.
And that is so what you've brought out to us in education, mental control versus mental, I heard somebody, give me a minute here, mental control, mental health makes you better. Mental control is just taking over your whole mind, your whole being. and keeping you dumbed down. And I like what you said too about the big pharma, all of the greed and how the politicians tie into that, because it's like they're all in cahoots together because of the greed and the poor. And you mentioned how they look at all ethnicities. It's about giving them drugs and so forth. However, Black people are preyed on the most. And the reason being, we are the poorest. We have the net worth of Black people in America is less than any ethnic group in America. It's collectively, from my research, is only about 100. It's not even, I don't believe, $150,000. And the white net worth is close to $1 million. So look at that wide disparity there. And the other ethnic groups are in between, and everybody is over. So they prey on us more, and a lot of us do not do our due diligence and research, and that's what we got to start doing. And I'm so happy that you, among other people, are out here educating us as Black people so that we can come to a realization that this is all by design. And I talk about Dr. Claude Anderson's book, Black Labor, White Wealth. All of this ties into mental health, actually, because like you said, if you don't have your physical health intact, you go to a psychiatrist, the first thing they want to do, give you a pill, like they tried to do with you, like they wanted to do, give David all these pills, and the school wanted me to give, Christian school, mind you, give my daughter Ritalin. No way I was going to do that. And I think somebody wanted to say something. So does anybody have any questions for Minister Shaw? Because we are getting close to time, and I appreciate, I mean, you've even enlighten me on some things. So if anyone want to say anything, can you please let me know who, I think somebody wanted to say something.
Yes, that was me. I just wanted to, Reverend Shaw said he made a challenge to to the psychiatric industry to challenge the efficacy on psychiatry as an industry or their methods of so-called healing. I remember when we had Dr. Rebecca Carley on our show, and she also made a challenge. She put up $10,000 on the table and challenged anyone on challenged any physician or anyone in the medical industry to challenge her documented evidence that she can cure autism, which is considered in the mental health industry, it is considered a mental malfunction or a brain disorder or malfunction. No one has, to this day, no one has come forward and said, yes, I'd like to challenge you on your documentation. I'm pretty sure Reverend Shaw hasn't had anybody to this day to challenge him on his research or his findings or anything, because we should know by now that the medical or pharma industrial complex, as we all need to know that it's referred to, they're not in the business of making us well. They're in the business of making us so unwell that we have to depend on them for a lifetime. And then we'll see 10 years from now or 5 years from now, we'll see a commercial on television that says, if you took this psychiatric drug and you had this happen to you, you can have a lawsuit and you can sue the pharmaceutical company for all the drugs that they push. We all know that they are the legal drug pushers of the entire, of all of America. Their drugs are, as we should know, probably more dangerous than any street drug on the market or black market. And it's all by design to keep them, the pharmaceutical industrial complex is put in place to keep us as dumbed down as possible. And so what Reverend Shaw is doing and others is great, because if we don't have awareness of what these drugs do, we're going to keep going down this pitfall, and we're never going to come out. I would recommend for people to go and get the diagnostic, or at least get a copy of the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. So that way you can kind of get abreast, if you will, on all the disorders that have been labeled just for living life. If you live life a certain way, you're ill. You're labeled as being ill with this. Shopping is considered an illness, or considered compulsive. You have so many different aspects of life there that are now considered illnesses, and all emotional aspects are being monetized by the industrial complex. So it would be imperative if we all do our due diligence, do our research. There is no pill on the planet that's going to heal you of your emotional hang-ups, if you will, for lack of another term. So just do your due diligence. You have a brain for a reason. Your brain is more powerful than we've been led on to believe. If you keep it healthy, mental illness won't be a part of your everyday speech. Mental health will be the daily practice. We don't need a pill to live on this planet. As long as you believe in you and have the what did you call it? Not self-esteem, but what did you call it?
Real esteem.
Yes, real esteem.
I love it.
Only having belief that you can make all things possible, and not even considering what other people believe is possible for you.
Well,
I love that.
If I can, I just want to give, for people who want more information, they can go to cchrint.org. You can find all kinds. In fact, if you're on any of those medications, there's a drug database. You can put the drug into it, and it will give you the side effects of those drugs. Mm-hmm. So, cchrint.org, and you can do that with your regular.
Can you put that in the chat? Excuse me, Reverend Shaw. Can you put that in the chat, Ken?
Okay.
CC, what was it again?
cchrint.org.
Okay. Did you put it in the chat, Ken?
cchrint.
Right.
.org.
Right.
Great.
And then if anybody contacts your show, you just forward them to me. You can give them my name or my email. I think you have my email, fshawjr@yahoo.com. fshawjr@yahoo.com. Everything's lowercase. And then you just put Louise Hicks, or just put Aim the Purpose, and I know it came from the show, and then I'll get back to them as soon as possible.
And that's Ken. Did you put that in the chat? That's fshawjr. No, say it again.
At fshawjr@yahoo.com.
Okay, Ken put it in the chat, right, Ken?
Yeah.
fshawjr@yahoo.com. Yahoo.com.
Okay, yep. Everybody got that? Put it in the chat. And I mean, this has been just great. And I mean, I can't say enough about what you have told us again, over and over. This is Reverend Frederick Shaw, and our topic today, mental health, Black America, and psychiatry, because we know that real esteem, now that I've heard that, I'm going to use that if you don't mind. And by the way, Reverend Shaw is the first person that I've ever heard say he didn't need a PhD because he has a PhD. And now you know why he is known as the PhD, Reverend Frederick Shaw, because he does have a PhD. He's done so much research, and he's so real about how the psychiatry industry has impacted us as Black people and other poor people as well. However, like I said, because I am a warrior for justice, the mad Black woman, motivated and determined for my Black community to help enlighten us, because we are going backward in terms of our spirituality, our emotional, mental health, social health, physical health, intellectually, you name it, which has caused us to become economically going backward. So that's why I decided to do this show. And I'm so glad and thankful that you came on today, Reverend Shaw, to give us information that we need, because we need the education. We perish for lack of knowledge as Black people. And
Real quick, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ken.
Real quick, I just also want to let everyone know to, if you're here in Southern California, also visit the CCHR Psychiatric Museum on Sunset Boulevard. I don't know the exact address, but that's a great place to start if you want to learn about the history of psychiatry.
Well, Ken, what's so interesting, we also have a 3D tour on the website, so they can actually tour the whole museum from the website. But I do recommend that they come down 6616 Sunset Boulevard, 6616 Sunset Boulevard, and that's Hollywood. Yeah. And the thing is that our museum should be opening in May. I think it's May 2nd or something, but they can call down, they can research it real easy on the internet. They can call down and make sure we open, because we don't know what's going on with the COVID situation up and down, new viruses. Right. Oh, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, take a shot, don't take a shot, do, you know what I'm saying? Right, so we want to make sure that when people come down, and we have our own parking. So, and if for some reason our lot is full, then there's parking in the area that's relatively good price. So they can do that.
Yeah, that's a great place to start. That's definitely a great place to start. And also, again, get the diagnostic statistical manual. Definitely get this book. It goes into many different illnesses and disorders labeled by many of the heads that are in the psychiatry industry. You know, they get in these circle meetings and they vote on what this specific emotion is going to be labeled as. And so you might want to really kind of get into that and know what's being offered to you and your children at that.
You know, it's really interesting that you brought that book up, because it is the diagnostical, statistical manual, whatever. But one of the things that we discuss as being a fraud is the fact that there's no statistics in the book. Mm-hmm. So it's like,
right.
You got a book that you use words like statistical, so people think it's official, but there's no, you know. And the next time we come on, we'll go even deeper into that and all.
Yeah.
I can talk.
Oh yeah, we definitely gonna get deeper. We definitely, and I know you're gonna be taking a trip to this month, so I'm so happy we got you, Reverend Shaw, before you left out of, I don't know whether you're going out of the country, the state, or whatever, but that museum Ken mentioned, we have gone to the museum. Ken is the one that enlightened me about it. And Ken is my son. He has his own business, and I'll let him tell you a little bit about his business too before we sign off. And I want Reverend Shaw to have some final comments about some solutions that you can pass on to us as Black people and any other person that's interested, because my show is primarily focused on our community. However, we don't stop anybody from coming in, because knowledge is what can bring us together globally as a harmonious community. So I'm glad you mentioned that museum. We've gone to it. I mean, it was an eye opener for me, and because I've lived in California all these years. So thank you for bringing that on, Ken. And also, did you get the address in the chat for the museum, Ken?
No, he'd have to repeat it again.
It's 6616.
Yep.
Sunset Boulevard. I don't know.
In Hollywood, California.
Yeah, I'm not certain of the zip code.
Yeah.
And it's called what is it called again? Because you can always, it's on the website, he said too.
It's the CCHR building, is Psychiatry and Industry of Death.
Right. And I tell you, it's an eye opener. And it just shows, especially for us as Black people. I mean, I wasn't even aware of how we were treated as Black people by the psychiatric industry. And that's why I became this mad Black woman, motivated and determined as a warrior for justice for my Black community, because I saw so much by design to keep us in the situation we've been in since slavery. So anyhow, Ken, you want to say something about your business before we have, because we are a little bit over, but it's okay with you, Reverend Shaw, if we have Ken to say, and then I want you to give some final thoughts to us.
Real quick, Kinetic Fit and Wellness. You can email me, kinetic7@gmail.com. That's KENNETIC.
Put in the chat.
I'll put it in the chat. Kinetic7@gmail.com. Or we're in the social media era. You can go to my Instagram page, it's Kenan Wesley Mason. It has all the information there where you can link and find out all information about Kinetic Fit and Wellness as a business. If you're here in Southern California, we offer fitness and physiotherapy for those that have auto accidents or any kind of injuries, sports injuries, or just want overall personal maintenance. If you're anywhere else in the United States, if you want life counsel, I also offer life counsel, spiritual, emotional, psychological counsel, kinetic life counsel. I can talk with anyone from all over the United States through Zoom, like what we're doing now. So feel free to contact me. I'm always here and I'm always available. That's Kinetic Fit and Wellness. And
are you international as well?
Yeah, anybody
Since
can.
We have technology, so anywhere in the world.
Anyone in the world. Again, we're international. So if anyone wants to contact me, again, the email kinetic7@gmail.com or my Instagram page, Kenan Wesley Mason. Click the link and it'll link you to all information that is Kinetic Fit and Wellness.
And also, thank you for that, Ken. Kenan is my son, and I'm very proud of what he's doing. He's very knowledgeable, and as a single parent, pretty much raising my children, I'm very proud to say that Kenan has done well, and I love what he's doing because he's helping a lot of people. And my daughter, Crystal, that I did not put on Ritalin, candy, cocaine, and I did a video about it. In fact, I'll share that video too on my YouTube. I'll share it out to it was several years ago, but it's still relevant today. So thank you, Reverend Shaw. And I'd like to have you, if you don't mind, to tell us some highlights and give us some information that we can, I guess, as the old people used to say back home, since I was born in Louisiana, but mostly all of my raising years came out of California. So basically that's all I know. And I moved here to Texas. So if you could give us some type of final thoughts and how we can elevate ourselves as Black people, the poorest. And also I'd like to, a quick thing. Next month, I'm going to be doing a vision board. And I'm going to be inviting, I'll be getting that out. It's going to be a vision board for Black single women, and with the primary focus on Black mothers who are heads of households, but all Black single women, and anybody else is welcome. That's just our focus, since this is my primary reason for doing this type of show. So thank you all. And Reverend Shaw, we'd like to have you to have some final words, give us some solutions that we can follow that's going to help us to elevate ourselves and get our mental and emotional state intact so that we won't be mentally controlled and we can have some real esteem.
You know, it's interesting you mentioned about the single women thing, because I have a book that I'm gonna send you the information that I wrote, and it's going to be, I think, re-released May 1st, and it's talking about how to find the one. It's a relationship book. So if for some reason your audience wants to use that, or you think it's okay, then you can do that. Ken, I want to invite you to be a part of our task force. We have the CCHR Task Force Against Racism and Modern Day Eugenics. Louise is on that group. It's about 110 community leaders. And so I need, with your connection and what you're doing through your business, it might also be beneficial. And to be a part of that. So I'm gonna need your email. Put it in the chat while I'm talking if you can, so that I can just take the picture, and then that I can get a hold to you on that. I just want to say to our people that the time to just accept things on face value is past. I don't care what it is, from the virus to mental health to education to religion, whatever. We must take the time to investigate. We've gotten so caught into this television, live for myself type thing, that where we no longer are researching, studying, doing what we need to do so we can be abreast of the issues. We cannot accept the authority's word on things, because the authority does not have the ability to fix the problem. So if you can't fix the problem, you are not an expert. If you sit in your ivory tower and just, read the philosophies of the ages, and you don't hit those streets and find out what's really going on, you are not an expert. Don't matter what title you hold, don't matter what it is. Would Jesus be who he is if he could not heal? So the thing is, he could. So therefore, he has the title that he has in the Christian community. He is the savior. Why? Because he saved people. So I'm just saying, if they can't do it, I'm an expert in mental health. Can you heal somebody? If you can't, I don't want to hear it. They won't challenge me. In fact, I just got a quick little short story. I was in South Africa, and a psychiatrist came out, and he told me I was manipulating the masses and everything. And I continued to ask him how many people had he cured. And he actually kissed his hands, held them to the sky, and said, never. I got him to be on a television show, and the television people were right there looking at this interchange. He refused to come against me. Another woman said she would go on the show and meet me, and then she canceled at the last minute. I'm not even a psychiatrist. Why are they afraid to debate me? Because I have truth. So thank you for having me on your show, and I appreciate you, and I look forward to coming back on and doing another segment.
We look forward to you coming back. And there was my little hi, sweet. That's my little grandbaby, sweet. Her
girl.
name is Nija. Where are you? I don't see you.
She was stealing a kiss from her dad right there.
I see you. I don't see you.
She's right there.
Hi.
Hi,
Hey.
sweet. That's my.
Grandma, I want to show you something. You stay right there. It's really pretty.
Okay.
And I made it myself.
Oh my goodness. I guess I'll have to stay right here, everybody, because she told me last night I was her BFF, her best friend forever. And I told her the same goes back to you. But you are so right, Reverend Shaw. And we need that education, and they're not going to challenge you, because they know you do have truth about the psychiatric industry and how all the politicians and the pharmaceutical companies, they all intertwine together. And it's to keep us dumbed down so they can keep making the money, because the final analysis is, and I would think you would agree with me, it's all about the greed and the money, not about us as human beings who should be of sound mind and healing. So they don't heal anybody with these pills. And you see all the side effects that they said, name the pill, and the next thing follows all these side effects. And some of them are even suicidal. So I really appreciate it. We want to have you back so we can get more into the psychiatric aspects of it and more solutions for our community, so that we can help ourselves to heal, so that we won't keep having more Black men incarcerated, and more Black females now are becoming more incarcerated. It seems like it's always been the Black males. Now it's becoming more Black females too. So thank you so much. We appreciate it. And we want to have you back. And we'd like to get Riza back on here. Maybe you and he can come together on the show. If you could work that out, that would be awesome.
Man, that boy is too powerful. He
Right.
we went on the trip up to San Francisco and all that to do a protest. We had to stop in several cities. People were recognizing him on street corners and stuff. We were in what state was that together? We was in, was it Chicago or somewhere? And we walked into the store. You know, I'm tall and everything. I'm used to it. When I'm tall, the women look at me and one pretty girl looked at me and smiled, and before I could smile back, she saw reason and turned her head from me, act like I was bad medicine. I said, "Oh, no, I'll get a hold to him and see if we come on together."
Give him some time for his mother just passed, and then I would love to have you and him on the show together because we did it in California. It's even worse now. So
you're gonna need a 2-hour show. You get us both on here.
That's fine. We'll do a 2-hour show. We'll have you, him, and Ken, all three of you guys together, and we will have a 2-hour show. So let's plan on that sometime this year.
Okay, and let me tell you this: if you need, always check with me. I got experts in health and all kind of stuff right now. So if you need people people that are part of our task force that are health experts and stuff. So if you need people to talk about that, let me know, and I'll turn numbers over because you're on the task force, so I can ask them about you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I remember because we had talked about that a long time ago. You had put me on the task force,
Right.
And I moved to Texas. Remember, I wasn't able to go and attend anything because I'm here in Texas now, and I've had my challenges here in Texas. Believe me, racism is prevalent all over.
Well,
so anyhow, go ahead. What did you say?
You on there? Make sure I got Ken's information. You can text it to me too, and make sure I have your information. I'll put you on that task force too, Ken, and that might help what you do because I'll get more about that and we'll figure it out.
Absolutely.
That sounds sounds good.
Yeah, the email is in the chat, and we'll also get it to you personally, so that's no problem.
Okay.
And thanks to everybody for coming on today. Sweet Sweets wanted to show me something quickly. What is it you want to show, Grandma?
You gotta be
really quick. What is it you want to show me? Something you made, because we have to let our children know that we love them and we're interested in what they're doing.
Absolutely.
I made this last night for you. I made this bracelet for you last night. It's not.
Oh, you made that for me?
I made it for you.
Oh, that's beautiful. Thank you.
I think I dropped it, but I think I still have a bead missing, but I think I'll find it, but this is the thing that was holding it together and it slipped out and I dropped it. So I'm gonna see if I could just tie that.
Well, when you fix it, you can call Grandma later on today and let me know how it looks then. But it's beautiful and thank you so much. I appreciate that. Love you.
I'm gonna mail it to you after Uncle David's birthday, so that's when I'm gonna mail it to you.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you, sweet. That's my little. Bye, sweet. Love you too. That's my 7. She's 7. That's my 7. She'll be 8 August 4th. She and I share that 4th day. I'm March 4th. She's August 4th. So she'll be 8 August 4th. Thank you, sweet. I love you. And anyhow, thanks everybody for coming on the show today. We appreciate you, Reverend Shaw, and we're looking forward to you coming back. You've given us so much information. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And to everybody, I always end all of my shows with your power lies within you. Let it loose. Until next week, everybody have a fantastic day.